Sukuna's nightmare, Hollow Purple, is back to kill him. Yuta has 3 minutes to get the job done in Gojo'S body, and Inumaki has come in clutch to say,
"Shit yourself."
Yeah, sounds about right judging by Sukuna's face. Will this mean his death? Chapter 262 continues the boxing match between the strongest. It's a complete slugfest, where previously Gojo would come out on top in the clashes, but this time round, things are not so easy. Yuta is trying to adjust to Gojo's curse technique, whilst throwing Sukuna down like a sack and whipping his ass. However, Yuta confirms that he can only use Limitless aside from Kenjaku's brain hopping. Rika is still with his dead body, and he can't use copy, which is why the 6 eyes are so vital. In chapter 261, Shoko explained that copying Limitless without them would be useless, and since it's a physical attribute rather than a technique, the only option left for Yuta was to take over Gojo's body and learn on the spot. But this is where the problems only begin. Yuta is struggling fighting for his life with Gojo's long limbs, which is why he completely misses the mark. Come on, Yuta, we're here for you. Wait, what else is long?
Pause.
But Yuta notes that Sukuna lost his left arms, so he cannot use the world-cutting slash. Hence, other than domain amplification, there's no other means for the king to overcome Limitless. This is the only reason why Yuta thinks he has an advantage and can deal enough damage to Sukuna so that he wins the domain clash, which would let Unlimited Void hit, or a purple. Keep in mind that this would game end the fight. Even Sukuna admitted in chapter 230 that his win condition depended on getting rid of Unlimited Void, and later in chapter 234 that Gojo's purple at point blank range would be fatal. However, the red flags for Yuta's death just don't stop. Gege wants to make us feel pain because Yuta is having a hard time using Gojo's Limitless. In the 1 month time skip, he swapped with Gojo using Ui's technique to train, but that only occurred once due to its limits being twice a month. The other swap was with Yuji so he could learn reverse curse technique and shrine. Now in a flashback, we see Gojo scolding Yuta for his inconsistent curse energy usage. This would be around the 5th time this has occurred throughout the series. One of those times specifically would be in chapter 261, where Sensei admitted that he's been on his ass about that. So even though he has more curse energy reserves than Gojo, Yuta uses it in a inefficient way, which takes away another big advantage from him in a fight against the King of Curses, who now matches his reserves. Hence, even though Yuta tries to use Limitless, it massively fails, surprising even Sukuna. Despite that, Yuta brings up how demanding Limitless is on the body. In his and everyone else's eyes, Gojo made this technique look flawless and all-powerful, but it is impossibly difficult to master. This makes Yuta think about how much hard work went into perfecting Limitless before Gojo pronounced himself as the strongest sorcerer. Like the sneak peek we got of Gojo slowly perfecting it at 16 years old in front of Geto and Shoko, it was only part of the actual process, and the 6 eyes was essential. Ladies and gentlemen, this pretty much answers Geto's most prolific question in the entire series. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo, or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest? Now we know it was in fact Gojo's own talents and hard work that made him the most powerful 6 eyes Limitless user in sorcerer history. His red alone was capable of one-shotting Mahoraga, whereas a previous 6 eyes user died to the 10 shadows technique with an untamed version of the same Shikigami. Think about it. Yuta is even more blessed than Gojo in terms of genetics. This is due to his lineage being from the Fujiwara and the Michizane family. Yet he needs more time even whilst having Gojo's memories to crack the code faster and struggles to keep up. But speaking on that topic, shout out to Shad's Manga Only on X for catching the small details about Kenjaku's hair and attire in this chapter. Take a look at both of these panels on screen. His attire with Kashimo matches what Uru remembers about the Fujiwara clan. Plus, Uru only accuses Yuta of being part of the Fujiwara only after he questions her about not having a lover or friends to care for, which seems quite coincidental since the Sugawara and Fujiwara clan clearly had a Romeo and Juliet situation going on where they banged to make Yuta their descendant despite being enemies. This proves Kenjaku was prevalent in ancient Japan even 600 years ago, with his strategic brain hopping to make this occur. Gege? He's cooked, because this also matches the actual history of Japan. The Fujiwara clan prospered since ancient times and dominated the imperial court until the Meiji Restoration in 1868, which completely matches the timeline of Jujutsu Kaisen, as Uru knows about them as well. Basically, in the past, the Fujiwara clan became jealous and conspired to convince the emperor that Michizane was plotting against them. He was essentially the Gojo of his generation, extremely talented, well-liked, and very powerful. However, they succeeded in getting Michizane banished, where they stopped him from teaching, working, and being influential despite his innocence. As a result, Michizane became a vengeful spirit upon death, just like in Jujutsu Kaisen, where Kyoto suffered calamities. Now, we only know of one person who would try to use such a drift between clans to his advantage, which he did even in modern times, taking over the Kamo clan and destroying the three major families. He must have moved within both clans to add fuel to the fire, as well as obtain more influence or reach. That means Yuta might be the result of Kenjaku meddling with these clans. If you didn't know that, make sure to smash the like button and hit the notification bell, because Sukuna realizes that Yuta has no clue how to handle Limitless. He mocks him by asking if he has time for all these adjustments. After all, they only have 3 minutes. Thus, he immediately takes up the chance to land a huge attack and shed some more light on the fight. He theorizes about the condition of Yuta's copy, its time limit, and how many techniques he can use at a time. Since he already confirmed that Yuta can't use more than 2 curse techniques simultaneously when fighting in his domain, this means Yuta has no other tricks up his sleeve other than Limitless. However, Yuta's death flags just don't stop. The king grasps that Yuta might not even be thinking beyond this battle, knowing he will die, which makes him remember Gojo'S hollow purple, which was a kamikaze that hurt both of them, and by the way, it was a huge reference to Netero vs Miriam in Hunter x Hunter. After all, Gege loves that series. But just when Sukuna thinks about this, Yuta concentrates on reading Gojo'S memories one by one. Don't forget that in chapter 212, we learned that incarnated sorcerers receive information about the modern era from the vessel's brain, yet they have to read the vessel's memories to impersonate them. So since Yuta took Gojo'S body only recently, he hasn't had enough time. However, he's learned the incantations and process for purple. In chapter 223, we learned that they can elevate a curse technique's effectiveness. As a result, Yuta begins the chant, but Sukuna punches him far away, thinking, "Boy, are you stupid?"
Your intellect is as weak as your dollar.
Why would he do such a strategy if Gojo himself had to make such a meticulous plan to pull it off? Sukuna would never give the opportunity to use that move, but that's where the king is wrong. Gojo was working by himself, but Yuta has the backing of all the other sorcerers, bitch. Well, whoever is alive, that is. Right when Sukuna thinks he's safe, Yuta realizes that his opponent is wary of his copy and the possible strategies. He makes this knowledge a disadvantage by using the most simple plan ever. Yuta uses blue to pull up a tape recorder which orders Sukuna to not move. Bruh, Gege has cooked up a master plan, and if you don't believe me, this whole idea is connected all the way back to chapter 222. Yuta spoke to Inumaki and told him he will put him to work. What he requested was for him to record his cursed speech into a tape to use it in battle. battle. Inumaki bleeds through his mouth and throat as he created a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity by freezing Sukuna. This man can't catch a break. This is the third time he's been stopped midway. Once in Yuta's domain, LaRue stealing his heart, and now Inumaki is setting him up in a trap. Like, bro really said...
English or Spanish?
Baby, you got something in your nose.
So with the king frozen in place, he is shocked at how this is not a copy. It's the real thing. Now you might be wondering, wait, ABD, why wasn't this tactic used with Gojo to achieve the same thing? He would have just won the fight earlier. Well, the answer lies with Sukuna being too strong at that point to be affected by Inumaki's cursed speech, as it depends how relatively strong the opponent is to him. In that situation, it wouldn't stun Sukuna long enough, and Inumaki's life would be at risk. Like, my guy would have literally exploded. Whereas now, he's just bleeding severely. He'll survive with RCT, am I right? But it's too late to back out of this plan. The chant for purple begins without any interruption. In chapter 234, Sukuna had confessed that another hollow purple would kill him, which is why he had even sacrificed Agito and Mahoraga to avoid being directly hit throughout the fight. Whereas now, he has no option except to face this attack. Or you would think, because I have some bad news.
Sorry.
If we go back and look at every hollow purple Gojo has fired so far in the manga, including Ultimate, we can see that red and blue circles overlap each other at the center to create imaginary mass. It is the combination of two opposite forces of attraction and repulsion. However, in the last panel in chapter 263, we can see that Yuta has failed to properly merge red and blue, which is linked to Gojo constantly telling him to refine his curse energy better. That can mean only one thing, that he will create a weaker purple which would let Sukuna survive. But things get worse, because Sukuna has experienced this technique before in Yuta's domain, and due to him being a genius, he could figure out the answer that was laid out in chapter 41. We are told sorcerers can protect themselves from cursed speech by manipulating the flow of cursed energy to their brain section that controls air function. This allows them to prevent words and commands from cursed speech, or at least the cursed energy which reinforces those commands from being registered and executed. So I'm just gonna say, bruh, there's a chance Yuta will flop. Prepare yourselves, I'm sorry. Overall, Sukuna has the best defensive feat in the entire series, tanking a 200% purple when he only realized it was coming at the last second of impact. He assumed it was more than 120% due to Gojo making a binding vow. So even the king himself doesn't know he tanked way more than usual. This means if Yuta's purple isn't at 100%, it won't kill Sukuna, but would leave him with serious damage that would dwindle his life force further for Yuji to end the battle once and for all. But to enjoy more peak fiction in regards to Yuta glazing Gojo as the GOAT, watch this video where I fully explain just how strong Gojo was and why he deserved the title of strongest.